welcome back. Lost Again No More. We have focused a lot on music the first 7 episodes or so, and I think for these next 7 or so videos, we'll focus on movies, which are my all time favorite. As much as I love music, and I do love music, movies are my number one passion. I went to film school, I've worked on film sets, um, and it's just been something that has always piqued my interest. I'm always looking for movies outside the box, foreign films, films from the past, forgotten films, silent films. It doesn't matter. I am truly a student of cinema, and I always will be. So I wanted to use this first episode to highlight one of my favorite films ever, and that's Being There. Hal Ashby's Being There, with Peter Sellers. Part of the reason I love this film so much is I believe that this has the single greatest ending to a film of all time. If you know me in any way, shape, or form, or you've been discussing films with me ever, you'll know that I think the ending to a film is the single most important aspect of the film. Now, I love a good setup, I love character development, I love all these things, especially a lot of films that focus on immersion rather than only strictly sticking to moving the plot along. Those are some of my all time favorites as well. But sticking the ending is by far the absolute hardest thing for even great directors to do. It's you have all of this build up, and if you can't deliver at the very like especially like the last closing shot is so important to me. It is like it's the send off. And I feel like quite a few films rush or they're just trying to wrap it up, and that last ending shot is just kind of, it's an afterthought. Well, you already been through so much, you won't really care what this last thing. It's like, no, that's so important. The last visual image that you're leaving your audience should summarize, in my opinion, a lot of times what you just have seen. And there is literally, in my opinion, no better film that ever did it better than Being There. And so to give a little backstory on Being There, it's a Hal Ashby film. If you know anything about Hal Ashby, he's kind of a wild man of Hollywood. I believe he started off as working as an editor, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. He was an editor for In the Heat of the Night, one of the really good movies from the 60s. I believe it won Best Picture, actually. I'll have to double check that. I don't know everything. But I do know that he started off as like an editor, and he was encouraged by people like, oh, you should take up directing. And he became one of the best new Hollywood directors of the 70s and 80s. Some people look at his filmography as kind of it's uneven, but I think even in some of his excesses, like he did 8 Million Ways to Die, mid 80s. It's an absolute mess, honestly. But it has it has his trademark charm to it in a way. It's a Jeff Bridges movie. He plays an alcoholic, and no joke, it has one of the most insane scenes I've ever seen in a film. If you've seen the movie, you know before I even say this what it is the two, the antagonist and protagonist are meeting to discuss a deal to go down, and they literally open the antagonist opens up his car trunk and pulls out ice cones, and they discuss murder and death over ice cones. It's one of the craziest things. I was like, this guy had to be coked out of his mind before I even knew that Hal Ashby was absolutely coked out of his mind making these movies. But that all being said, I don't want to diminish how good when he was on, how good he was. He did Shampoo, Harold and Maude, um, Coming to America. He did Coming to America. So he really, really was a very good director. It's just, sometimes the excesses hit him. Thankfully, he restrained himself for Being There. And I think a part of the reason was for this is that Peter Sellers actually had bought the rights to the book. And I'd have to look at the back of this thing to see who it was. But you want to know, I'm going to do that because it's that good. I'm going to give him credit. I always forget it. And I'm probably going to butcher it because I know it is a Eastern European, Jerzy Kosinski. Jerzy Kosinski. Just a absolutely insane story, essentially about a man who is foisted into the world without a personality. Everyone assigns what they believe or what he thinks based on simple sayings that he gives, but they are the ones that are making his world up for him. He's not making up the world, if that makes sense. And I think that that's a lot of what the movie's about, like construction of personality and conformity within the world, trying to literally find a place for you to exist where you get peace of mind, and how freaking hard that is to do. And why I love this movie so much is it goes completely against type for a Peter Sellers movie. If you know anything about Peter Sellers, he is one of my all-time favorites. He's one of the best. He's like Jim Carrey before Jim Carrey, but I guess that would technically be. He's British, so he's more reserved in like the way he's presenting things. But he was in Doctor Strangelove. He was a Inspector from the Pink Flamingo series, Inspector Clouseau. So he's always had this kind of winking at the camera type thing, like I'm really funny and I am, and he is. But with this film, he inverts that. He goes against it. It's unbelievably restrained. You keep waiting for him to become Peter Sellers, and he literally never does. And in a way, it absolutely works. It absolutely, and I think that that's what he knew when he bought the rights to the film, rights from the book for the film, because he knew that basically this is his all-time passion project, and he's like, if I release this and everyone is expecting me to do what I always do and I invert that, I could make a masterpiece. And I'm going to tell you right now, he did, with the help of Hal Ashby. They made one of my all-time favorite films. I actually was I was fortunate to be a personal chef for a man and his family once, an older gentleman, and we got to talking about movies. He found out I liked movies and knew a lot about movies. And he goes, well, what's your favorite film? I thought about it for a second, and I was like, well, man, that's so hard. Any given day I can give a different answer to that. But I thought about it, and I went, probably Being There, Hal Ashby, Peter Sellers. And I'm telling you, this man's, his mouth just dropped. He was like, that is my all-time favorite film. And we went from being kind of strangers on that second day of work to like, he's become one of my all-time great friends, and I'm so thankful that he's still in my life. And part of that was this movie bonded us. He had never heard someone, my age or younger ever say this film. He's like, I thought this movie was forgotten in I think it was 79 or 1980. He goes, I literally thought people forgot about this movie. He goes, I think that's one of the best movies ever. And, it's got great actors in it. It's got Jack Warden. It's got Shirley MacLaine. So it's one of those ones that just gets overlooked because there were so many good films from that 70s, late 70s era. Because even if this came out in 1980, it was being shot in 79. So that's one thing I guess I should have said too. I think the best decade for films of all time is the 1970s. And I know that's not really a controversial opinion because you got The Godfather and Being There and Apocalypse Now, and it's just countless Harold and Maude, countless films that were out that were just bucking the trend of what had ever come before it and being completely unique, and they still stand the test of time. Quite a few of them. They haven't lost that power that they have. And I think that for some reason, I guess coming out of the studio system of the 60s, when the studio bosses didn't know what people really wanted anymore, they gave the reins to these young directors. I mean, that's when you got Jaws comes out, Spielberg, you get Star Wars, George Lucas. But even before then, he had American Graffiti, which is one of the all-time best, like, kind of high school driving around from films. That's like Dazed and Confused before Dazed and Confused, if you've ever seen that movie, Richard Linklater film from the 90s. And so for me to tell you that I think that this may be the best 70s film of all time, it's like, what? There's so many good ones, but it is that good. And I think I want to forewarn you that a lot of people may see this film after this video. Hopefully you do, you really do, and be like going, this is really kind of slow. This is, what's going on? It's kind of deadpan. It's very dry. I can see where Wes Anderson may have got some of the dryness for his films, but I urge you to stay till the end, the very, very end, because, in my opinion, of all time, it is the single best last shot ever done. And I read that they didn't have the budget to do what Hal Ashby had thought up for the last shot, and he actually took it out of his own. He took a pay cut, took money out of his own, what he was supposed to get paid, to fund this last shot. And to do it is, I mean, I want to tell you so bad, but to give you away that finale, it would be the biggest cheat job of all time. I would screw you over so bad because it is that good. And I think that everyone should get a chance to experience it for the first time without any preconceived notions or any expectations of what's coming. Because when I tell you the first time I saw it, this movie, I was like, this is a good B+ film, maybe even an A, low A, because I love Peter Sellers so much I can forgive a lot of stuff, and it has a couple of parts that are a little slow and maybe away, but that's, once I've seen it multiple times, I realized it was building to this ending. That's what was so important. And with the ending shot, it went from, like I say, a B+ low A to an absolute A+++. I mean, off the even scorecard, it becomes eternal. It becomes a classic because of the last shot. And so for the first film video I wanted to do, I really wanted to highlight this film because it's one that I always recommend to people, and people are like, "What? There's a random Peter Sellers movie I've never heard of?" And I'm like, it's his best film. It's one he funded. I think he may have died. He may have done like one kind of B movie or something after this, probably being shot around the same time. But this was like his last statement, his last film, his last big thing on Earth, and he absolutely crushed it. He absolutely crushed it. And so did Hal. He's able to rein in those demons for a film, and they delivered. And so for the first film on these, for the first episode that focuses on movies, I wanted to really recommend that you go see Being There. I think that if you see this film and afterwards you're really moved by it, you're probably going to like a lot of the stuff that I suggest, because this is one of the ones that stands out for me. So it's like I kind of always compare it with all these other great films, and if it's in my collection, I've judged you worthy. And I should say too, this is something I was going to say, if I have it on Criterion, pay attention, in my opinion, because I have most of these on DVD and Criterion. If I get Criterion, it's because I want the best transfer with as much bonus materials as I can get, because I love a movie so freaking much. And I have this one definitely on Criterion. And I would urge you to, if you really love a film, start buying the physical media, because they're slowly going to disappear from streaming. They know it. I don't know if any of y'all had got to have Netflix back in the day, but when it first came out, I had never gone through so many films, because you could get them in the mail, and I was getting all these foreign films I had never seen before. It just didn't come in one after the other. But slowly they started signing those streaming contracts, and especially they stopped doing the DVD packages, sending them through the mail. And once they signed those streaming, it really diminished a lot of that back catalog, that they were just such good films that I had never seen before. And so I was thankful I got to experience that, because I got to see Being There was one of the films that I got from that Netflix back in the day, because I was just like, oh, loading it up. I didn't even think anything of it. I was like, oh, just a new Peter Sellers movie, and it came, and I remember I went out and got the DVD from my local vintage stock. And then a few years ago, I saw they did the official Criterion, and I was like, yep, I'm going to own that too. So that's a big thing. If you really love a movie, I think you should own it. I don't think that you should hope to download it, hope to stream it. You should own it, physically have it, so you can put it in, because there's something just wonderful about knowing if all stuff falls down, that I can still watch this movie as long as there's electricity. The electromagnetic pulses haven't taken us out yet. So yeah, I wanted to start this movie series, kind of ones off, focusing on one of my favorites, encouraging you to go see it. And moving forward too, with the movies I do highlight, I don't ever plan on giving super in-depth analysis or trying to answer the questions of. I prefer to let what the filmmakers have presented be presented to you as well. What I'm going to be talking about on is whether I love it or not, whether I thought it worked or not, psychoanalyzing it so you can understand it. Because there's lots of other channels that do that will break something down and they do a great job of it. I'm not even trying to compete with them. Again, this is for recommendation purposes. A lot of the times, like I said in one of the early videos on music, I'll recommend this to some of my younger coworkers or people I know, and they're like, I have no idea what films you're talking. Like, is this on Netflix? Like right now, is this streaming? Is this brand new? And I'm like, no, you're gonna have to seek this out, and it's worth it. And so I'm making a lot of this so I can give it to people if they ever are asking, like, what movie are you talking about? I could send them this video and be like, this is the movie I'm talking about. Being There, Hal Ashby with Peter Sellers as the main actor and Shirley MacLaine, who has a great role in it too. So, yep, that's this video, and we'll see you again.